Hi, this is Osman. I'm an energy healer, yoga and meditation teacher, and an entrepreneur. Please be sure to visit my website, yogawellness786.com, for more resources, discussions on current trending, modern day topics that are trending in the leading media platforms, as well as other resources, and also to get a list of all our services or my services, and also different ways that you could contact with me. Today, I'd like to discuss the subject of alcohol and what's my opinion as a yoga and meditation teacher, and as well as a Muslim, right? I'm also a Muslim. So, of course, in Islam, it's forbidden. So, I think the word forbidden is the incorrect word, right, from a religious point of view. So, I'm not trying to promote Islam or go against Christianity or any. I respect all religions and all the things. And to answer the question upfront before I bring the argument, I say I've got no problems with people consuming alcohol, right? And I feel it's their personal choice. And let me bring that answer, temper it with my reasons why I go behind that, and also as a Muslim, how I could go and say that, right? Because I will be excommunicated, so to speak, if it was the olden days, right? If it was the 20th century or before, I would have been excommunicated, and I wouldn't be surprised if I'm going to be targeted and maybe even executed by some of the current day brethren, in my religion, who would want to execute me and may even do it, in some parts of the Islamic world. And I'm living in an Islamic part of the world, but in a more moderate part of the Islamic world. I'm living in Turkey, and I chose it from reading one of the books on Jeffrey Archer, where he made, I forgot the title, but it's an author that I truly respect and enjoy very much, because he does a lot of research into history and physical elements of different aspects of history as well as geography, and incorporates it into a story that is very captivating and spoken of in a language that is pure and good English. If you want to improve your English, I would say read Jeffrey Archer. You're going to improve your vocabulary and improve the way in which you speak the language, right? Amazing, right? And the way he puts it. So he mentions, coming back, the city of Istanbul, right? And he mentions that it's a home for both the modern day thinking person and the religious person. If you want to pray and you want to be a Muslim, a practicing Muslim, there's opportunities for you to pray and so forth. And if you want to go to a nightclub and have a few drinks and go to a bar and so forth, you can go there. And of course, this is a majority Muslim country, and the city in which I'm living in is a majority Muslim city, and over 80% Muslims. And the bars and nightclubs are majority Muslims, right? Uh, and they are drinking alcohol, right? And they are free to do so. And I also lived in more conservative cities, not very conservative, but I lived in the city of Dubai for a very long time. During the month of Ramadan, if you ate in public, it was a punishable offense. You will get arrested by the police, and you'll be given a fine, if not possibly imprisoned as well. I think everything is in Dubai. If you do, you go to jail, right? And I mean, people. The city of Dubai is 80% expatriate. Is it 80% Muslim? I don't think so. I think probably about 50% is Muslim. The other 50%, they use proportion. My figures are not accurate. This is my estimation. It's a crime to eat in public during the month of Ramadan. I think this is a type of extremism, right? Is this what my opinion of the sentiment of the religion is? No, I don't want to make this a religious subject, but it brings, because I'm part of the religion, right? I have to bring my perspective on it, right? It's important that I bring. So I mentioned the word forbidden is incorrect, because that's an English word. In Arabic, they use the term haram, right? And they translate the word haram to forbidden, that which is forbidden. They say haram. But I say that is incorrect translation, and maybe the people who's translating it to using the word forbidden are people are not coming from a native English language background, and using that word, right, forbidden. I'm a native English speaker. I'm a South African, right, and my primary language is English, right, and I think in English, right, and this is my primary language. And I don't know, the Arabic language. Yes, I understand prayer and so forth, and all that. Let's not get into that. So my definition is that haram means harmful or extremely harmful, not or substantively harmful for you, right? So also the Quran says, another term, la ikraha fid deen, right? In it's a very prominent verse in the Quran, right? In the biggest chapter of the Quran, the second chapter called Surah Baqarah. I think it is one of the main this thing after one of the primary verses, so to speak. But everyone who is Muslim know the verse. La ikraha fid deen means there is no compulsion or force in the religion. So when you use the word forbidden and use the word no force, forbidden implies force, right? Compulsory means compulsory, not no compulsory. In Islam, no force. No, you're not compelled. And they say, okay, stoning to death and executed if you have a sexual relation with a married woman, and so forth, and so forth. And this was the practice. Okay, that is ancient time. Now is the 21st century, right? Which country now is executing people who's committing adultery? It's not in the current day practice. And people were, not only from their religious perspective, people were executed for simple things, just for saying they don't believe in what is being stated by the ruler, in all cultures across the world. And people were just executed and slaughtered just to grow the kingdom, right? To grow the kingdom, they went and invaded cities that are weaker, and to grow the kingdom, and slaughtered the men and raped the women. It's a normal practice in war and so forth. And they had slaves and so forth. So these are all different times, right? Let's not bring that. Currently, no compulsion, no force in the religion. And they say, I don't drink alcohol, right? I'm a practicing Muslim, and I choose not to drink it and choose to follow, and I believe it's not good for me, and I believe I'm not someone, if I chose to practice or chose a certain path, follow the rules, right? Not that, the other religion, something wrong with it, right? If I had chosen, to choose Christianity as my core field, core choice of primary or main religion or religion that I want to follow those rules. Take a standpoint, you join a community, follow its main principles, right? And also don't be an extremist in it, right? So is alcohol harmful? But from a yoga and meditation perspective, I didn't find because I wasn't a Muslim. I reverted to Islam when I was 38 years old. I was already matured in yoga and meditation practice, and there was many times, I used to enjoy alcohol, and also smoking, cigarettes at the time. I don't smoke now. I quit it, to make a choice in improving my health, and I don't smoke now for about 17 years, and I don't touch alcohol from the day I embraced Islam, because it's one of the major recommendations, for you to follow, that these are things that you should not follow, and it is the major things that you should avoid. And I strive my best to avoid it. I don't, have relations with married, intimate relations with married women. And I generally, most of my life, had intimate relations only in marriage, right? And that's why I have 6 divorces. I did not have 6, and I had 6 relationships, right? Serious relationships with intimacy, and it was within the bounds of marriage, and entered into it during the after marriage as well, right? In order to try to keep as close as possible to it. But does it mean that I'm telling people you are in sin, you're living in sin, you're not married? No, I don't believe that. I come from a more, progressive thinking, and I don't believe the Quran also states that, there is allowance in the Quran, right, that people don't mention, for open but monogamous, healthy, relationships, which is a very controversial topic, right? So, coming back to the alcohol and advancement, I experienced multiple samadhis in different parts of my life, consuming alcohol not on a moderate level, right? My standard, like, Friday night party night is like, boys night out is Friday night traditionally in my country, and or in my time, from my time, I don't know in these days if it's still boys night. um, Usually I love going to a pub, and not counting the number, I used to love drinking quantity, not quality, right? So beer was the primary choice, but I want to get smashed also. So include shooters with it. So for every and beer, I have the draft beer, the biggest keg of draft. Consume that, and while drinking that, have a few shooters in between, right? So usually like about 3 or 4, sometimes up to 7 shooters during for every beer, and of course get smashed. So get up on a Saturday morning, with a massive hangover, generally as an adult, and drop my then wife off at work. She used to work in a bank, and so she worked limited hours on a Saturday morning until 11 a.m. and then drop off around 8 a.m. 8:30, I think she starts, and by 9 a.m. I already visited the liquor store and purchased a case of pints. That's 24 pints of beer. And of course, I didn't want to get, which wife likes to see the husband drinking so much? So I didn't want to get to a negative side. I purchased it after dropping her off and polished the 24 pints and threw it in the garbage outside. So there's no evidence. And she knows I had a few drinks from the smell, but she don't know how many, right? Polished all 24 within 2 hours, because she finishes work at 11 p.m. and be ready to pick her up, right? And of course, drinking and driving, right? But I'm not recommend, that's a very dangerous thing, and don't do that, and very irresponsible thing to do, right? But I didn't feel drunk. I used to drink, and if someone used to meet me, they said I didn't look like someone who was drunk, and especially having drunk 24 pints. And that's in the morning, just as a starter to get over the hangover. And on the way back, I just stop at a liquor store, with my wife, because she wants to buy a few groceries. And I go into the liquor store, buy 2 bottles of whiskey, 2 750 ml bottles of whiskey, which was my drink of choice as well for a Saturday afternoon and evening. It was a barbecue time, Saturday, afternoon and evening. And I had normally a very close friend that I used to call him over, and he used to visit, and we used to have barbecue, and the two of us used to generally finish the 2 bottles of whiskey after that. And this was a standard Saturday practice, right, for over a decade. And then I would say, generally, because I was running my own business for a very long time, it was very stressful, and I found to have alcohol in the evenings was very relaxing, after a very long hard day of work. And we come from a culture, or my culture, where I grew up, where it is normal. It's a wine country. We have wine with our foods. So whenever we went ate out, we had either, if it was red meat, red wine. If we had fish, we had white wine with the food, and enjoy the fruity wines. And South Africa has a variety of wines, to enjoy. So together with food. So that was common to eat out and have wines. And on a daily basis, of course, I wasn't someone who was drunk during work hours or business hours. But after hours, when I finished and I came home and I'm relaxing, it was standard for me to drink a half a bottle of whiskey or vodka. I used to also love drinking vodka, and drink it neat, right? And I used to love drinking vodka that was kept in the freezer, the way the Russians drink it, neat, right? Not mixing it with orange juice and water and all that. Have it on the rocks or have it neat, right? So I preferred having it neat or on the rocks and frozen, right? Cold. Half a bottle. So why half a bottle? Because I didn't want to drink I just want to drink enough that I feel relaxed and the tension all drawn out of my body, and relax, and then go to bed, right? And that used to, when I found that I reached half the bottle, that was the sweet spot for me. That did it for me, and go to bed daily, right? Daily. This is daily, every day habit. And I'm practitioner of yoga and meditation for for close on to 50 years. I didn't find it deterring from my progress in yoga and meditation, or my advancement in meditation, or the benefits of meditation, or health benefits, or, was a direct intrinsic cause of anything major, problem. And I even visited, because I hired a professional coach, who is a qualified counseling psychologist as my business coach, because I always believe in getting qualified people. I did not want to get a business coach who did not have any scientific qualification. So I always put it to him, and I did the psychometric testings and all the type of testings on personality to see what's the weak points, for him to coach me better. And I asked him a question once: do you think I'm an alcoholic? People think the level I used to drink, it's a definition of alcoholic. I think I'm well into. There's no doubt when one comes to the definition of alcoholic, there's no doubt about, I would fall within the ambit. But I wanted to know from a scientific point of view, from my business coach, who's a qualified practicing counseling psychologist that I respected very well, and I trusted his opinions, and I had the utmost respect for him, and I still do. He said no. From all the testing and the way I speak and how I carry out my life, he said, I may abuse it, or so to speak, like a party animal, right? I know how to, enjoy it, and not something that influenced or affected my success, or influenced or affected, my decisions as a family person. Of course, driving, drunk is a bad decision. That is not something that I can, second. But from my personal aspect, like, I can drink large quantities, and even I'm still normal, maybe because I've attained higher levels of cognitive capacities through long-standing meditation practice, could hold my liquor that much better, and also with the long-standing yoga practices, that my body physically was that much stronger, because it also exercises the internal organs, that the liver and so forth was that much more efficient in getting rid of the toxins and so forth. Maybe, possibly, that I felt stronger and so forth. But what's my opinion on alcohol? I think there is no force in it. And from an Islamic perspective, what does it say about alcohol? Don't pray when you are drunk. So pray when you're sober, right? When you're drunk, after you're sobered up, then pray. And they also say that your prayer is not the reward of your prayer. So a lot of people, they say your prayer is not accepted for 40 days. That is not what the tradition says, and not in the Quran as well. The Quran says don't pray when you're drunk, right? So of course, when you're drunk, don't go to prayer, enjoy your party, right? You finish party, sleep, relax, got away, then, catch up your prayer and so forth, is my perspective. And I had friends, in extremist Muslim countries, who were addicted to alcohol, and said, Osman, what do I do? They say, and I can't leave alcohol. It's something, what's your opinion? I said, when you're sober, pray. When you're drunk, don't pray. That's all what the Quran says. And the traditions, we don't know, They say for 40 days, not accepted. For 40 days, the reward, you don't get the reward of it. Means the alcohol is in your cells, in your brain, and prayer is supposed to bring about a certain calm. So compare the calm of prayer and the calm of alcohol, right? Which, say now you're under extreme stress and you're very stressed out. I ask you to try one of two things. One day when you had the similar stress, tell you to pray. And another day, I tell you to have a few drinks, right? Be honest, which is, even if you're someone who never touched alcohol, you're going to know what's the answer, which is going to bring a greater sense of calm. So naturally, your body is going to get its primary source of calm chemically, right? Then through something which is prayer, something more subtle, right? So for 40 days, this effect is still in your cells, that your subtle, capacity to appreciate that which is subtle is negated, because of course it's going to choose chemical over subtle, right? Your body. So you're not going to, be attuned to the benefits. of the subtle aspects of prayer. Not that God is withdrawing his reward to you. Is that what I think? Of course not. Why will God going to reward someone who's a sinner more, who's coming and praying in forgiveness and asking for forgiveness, and and then someone who seems to be perfect, right? That's just my opinion, and hope that helps you. And be sure to visit my website, yogawellness786.com, and take care always.